It's time for me to review another demo for a game that's not out yet. I played the demo for Kart 64, a game that popped up on my radar after I saw this crazy clip. To cut a long story short, this is a Mario Kart 64 inspired horror game, and the clip that really stood out to me was this one where they end up grabbing an item, and not only does some weird creature pop out of the item slot, but the way that they utilize the fact that we always see the HUD as like a 2D object separate from the environment, and then it just pops into the world seamlessly. I was like, not only is this kind of creepy, but it's actually a creative use of the genre that it's, taking advantage of. So I had to check it out. And what did I think? So firstly, on the visuals, it really does look like a Nintendo 64 game. They've gone out of their way to make it look pretty darn accurate, which makes it so that when the game glitches out, quote unquote, it looks all the more real and helps it be easier to buy into. In terms of a story, truth be told, I couldn't actually tell you any actual story when it comes to this experience. I have genuinely no idea what's going on. Essentially, you start the game, and as you're playing along, you travel deeper and deeper. First you go off course on the first track, then you start sinking into like this mud/quicksand. You end up in a desert level where you eventually fall through the earth. There are these contorting human bodies in another level. There are these balloons that occasionally pop into blood. There's this other track which is these winding, never-ending bridges that will loop around on themselves if you go the wrong way. And then there's the seemingly never-ending parking lot at the very end of the game, which takes you to this building where you ultimately meet your end. And throughout the entire experience, I was absolutely on edge. The game does an excellent job at teasing you, making you wait for the moment where it goes completely off the rails. And there are plenty of moments where it will show you something outright scary, but it doesn't feel like it's in a way that completely shows its hand. For instance, like I said, I have no idea what is the story even with this game. There are these NPCs that appear throughout the experience. Some of them seem to be blissfully ignorant as to what's going on. There's one in the balloon section which has its head explode, much like the other balloons, which is horrifying. And then once you get deep enough, there are these cat NPCs which you can't even make out what they're saying. Their text is so garbled. At the end of the demo, once you reach the bottom of the building, your tires get popped and you get bludgeoned to death by this creature. I'm genuinely so curious. I am confused, but the game does such a good job at making me nervous that I actually just deleted the demo files right after. I've seen enough horror games that would break the fourth wall that I was like, yeah, no, I'm not risking it. I'm just going to delete this and wait for the full game to come out. There's not a whole lot more to say, really. The demo was short and sweet, as it only took me about 20 minutes to get through. But I'd highly recommend checking out the demo and, maybe joining their Discord server to stay up to date for when Kart 64 comes out, and I'll be sure to review the full game when it releases.